here. It looks like this. Hang on, I'm not sure why it's small. Gotta make it big. I think I know why, because of projector, that's why. Okay, because once I connected the projector, the screen became a little bit smaller, but I'm showing you this now because just to recap about last week, for the benefit of those who were absent last week, we just got started. So we got started with the introduction to this module. Hi, come in. And I think we briefly spoke about the weightage, the assessment weightage and things like that. Now, as far as that's concerned, I'll be sharing you the final assessment sheets, which you will self-regulate, as well, partially, by next week, okay, by next class. So by next class, I will show you your entire sheets. Just like I think for some of you familiar with my design principles class, I think you're quite familiar with that sheet, but this will be slightly different. This is basically for game studies. And there will be one other thing that I'm experimenting on, which I will tell you later. It's not so important right now. Okay. So just to recap, for those who were not here, all right. So we spoke about what games are, and games exist in all cultures, etc. All right, and just very quick recap. Okay, so in every culture, in every ethnic groups, games have a history. Every culture has a history of using games for tributes, for festivals. Okay, for to understand specific, I would say, achievements in chronologically, in years, for whatever that the kingdom is doing, or whatever the to celebrate a certain thing, whichever. Now, cultures are very complex, and they have specific political needs, or specific, I would say, requirements, for how to govern society, community, and things like that. So games have been used for various purposes, distractions, and sometimes games are also used for education. A good example is Snakes and Ladders. So sometimes games are used as a way to simulate a certain thought process or philosophy. So there's so much complexity in why some of these are designed. So there's so much of aspects of engagement to people. So at the end of the day, if you notice, even this photograph shows that it's a group of people playing. So all games involve individuals, a group of people. It's a social process. Gameplay, or the aspect of play, quote unquote, still there's no I would say there's no exhaustive definition to that. It's non-exhaustive. There's so many ways to perceive the understanding of the term play, or the experience of play. So it really depends. We can only understand its definition if you see it from context. So when you see it from context, then you understand, well, this is based on the need, this is based on the requirement. But why games mattered to certain cultures or certain individuals, people group, that is a big question mark. It really requires you as designers, as potential game developers, or to understand this, to understand current situations, the structure of society, and so on. So the most important thing that you should generate when you're trying to investigate this is problem questions, just in how you start research. All design comes from questions. All design comes from a specific penetrating research problem. Why? Okay? Does it matter? For what? What's the point? Why do this? Why can't we do that? Why can't we do this? Why cannot this be improved? And so on. They say that there's no original design, and that's, I would say, partially true, because a lot of designs are based on improvements, based on needs, user-centered needs. Again, if this is about people, who are the users? Big question mark. Why? Okay. So the power of each other, experiences, culture, confronting different sense of truths. That's the challenge. Every game you see have different paradigms. Some games have have some kind of ideology, you know. Some games have dogma. Some games have philosophy. Most frequently seen is, I would say, role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. They go by certain rules. They go by certain etiquette, certain practices. If Dungeons and Dragons, you use spells, and you have diverse group of individuals going on an adventure, then another game would be probably the opposite side of the coin, because they play by different rules. So paradigms, understanding, structure are like rules. Yeah. So this. We did a bit of discussion. Those who are not here, we did a bit of discussion. We spoke about scoring and why do you play games? Why do you want to investigate these? It's something that we're going to talk about today later on during our tutorials. And yeah, I suppose you guys have done something for your exercise 1 task for your personal gaming history. Now let's move on to today. Okay. So today we are moving on to our first part. Okay. We hope to finish most of this explanation by week 6 or so, right? Or week 5 or 6. Then at least you can focus on creation, because that's the most important thing. You learn by doing. Okay. Now, studying about game creation, and like I said, there's something about the truth about the idea of play. Let me just check whether it's recording. Yeah, okay. Right, so the truth about play. Now, the nature of games, theoretical, conceptual perspective, and cultural perspective. The three areas that we'll focus on in terms of, I would say, understanding games. Yeah. Now, the thing is, there's so many. Now, make no mistake, there are a lot of doctrine, there are a lot of different perspectives on game creation. Like I said, it's like, I would say, different paradigms. There are game developers who have different philosophical understanding about how you need to be immersed in a game. Yeah. So, but first, let's go to the general platform or the general plane of understanding of the nature of games. And secondly, what are the theoretical and conceptual perspectives? It's very important for you as designers to identify specific theories and concepts. So you are required to read. Okay. Again, I might probably revisit that journal, or hopefully you've been looking through some journals about specific writings, but they are very, very focused, okay, on specific mechanism. But here we look at concepts. Yeah. Then cultural perspectives. Culture. Now, when I look at culture, you know, we're not focusing on. We're not saying the German culture or the Chinese culture or the Russian culture. We're not talking about that, okay? We're talking about culture. You have the culture, the long hair culture, for example. So let's say there's a group of him people like-minded like him. He belongs to a community that only keeps long hair. They call themselves the long hair-ons, okay? And they have a culture. It's their culture. And this culture has been around for about 20 years. All right? They have their own community. They live together as well, you know? And they have tattoos, yeah? And the tattoos look like hair too, you know, that sort of thing. So they have a little belief system, all right? And so they have a belief system, they have their philosophy, they are agnostic, you know, they're not exactly, they don't really belong to a specific religion or anything like that. There you go. So then, something like that. So when I say culture, we also look into subcultures. So different kinds of culture. Now, gaming communities are cultures too. Okay, there are different gaming communities who observe their understanding and their shared interest about a specific game genre so religiously. Can you give me one? Like League of Legends followers or whoever, Dungeons and Dragons people, you know, things like that. Now, when it comes to theoretical understanding, you need to understand 3 areas. Okay, the way we encourage you to see this. We have to understand today, in today's world now, since some of you are getting into publishing and in research, it's important to ask the critical questions, okay, about today. But I'm not asking you to write papers on postmodernism. That's not what it is. I'm showing you this because I know you know about this, okay? I'm going to assume you know this, all right? And because, you know why? Because you are facing it every day, whether you realize it or not. I'm not sure whether you realize it. You watch it on television, you see this on websites, all right? And you even design it. You even submit designs based on this. Do you realize it? You don't. And you do realize how much of a rebel you are? I don't think you do. Maybe you're not rebel enough, okay? We don't know yet. But we are in the postmodern age. We are supposed to have cultural critiques. You're supposed to critique the norm, critique what is in existence. You have to know terms like existentialism, all right? Ontological understanding of what you see today, sense of identity, yeah? So question everything. Just because a game is good doesn't mean it's perfect. Just because they're making a lot of money doesn't mean shit, you know. It's just good marketing. You know what I mean? So there's no perfection. There's only questions, but there's only relevance too. So sometimes there's no way you can place it. It's very uncertain. Now, being a critique, you looking into it. You're looking at things in a post-structuralist view. Now, post-structuralist, being a critique of structuralist views is like, okay, first of all, what is the structure in society? What is structure? The philosophical understanding of structure. The family is a structure. The family, for example, is an institution. You are in a structure. You are in an institution. You're conditioned to see that. Are you in an institution? If you think of the word institution, what comes to your mind? This campus? The architecture of this campus? That comes to your mind? Really? Really? Is the architecture of Taylor's University equals institution? Then you drive in, you see the whole campus. Wow, what a beautiful institution. Really? Is that what you think? Then what is the institution? What is the institution? You, us, We make the institution, not the damn building. This building will be destroyed tomorrow. The whole university will be destroyed by a meteorite tomorrow. Not real, I mean, just saying. Conceptually speaking. But the institution still exists because we exist. Tomorrow, if there was apocalypse and a zombie apocalypse, will the institution exist? Yes. You will still try to create an institution. You still will have, you are natural people. You know one thing about our brains, we are naturally wired to create order. We are wired to design, right? So, but the thing is, in order to design, there has to be destruction. Sometimes you heard the term, let's go back to the drawing board. Normal. Every designers do that. Like tear the paper, destroy, keep destroying it. Sometimes they just they don't get attached to the design, they just leave the design. Heck, I don't care about the design. You want it? Take it. Some people hold on to it like, oh, it's mine, my precious. You know? Well, when it comes to money, yes, it's your precious. You know, you can't just give it away. But what if you want something new? What if you want something fresh? What if you want to improve on something? Why not? So you are all culturally conditioned to be biased about a specific thing. You're all biased. All of us, including myself, are so biased. You are. Are you biased? Biased and racist is two different things. No. Seriously, racist. Being a racist is different than biased. How is it different? What is a racist? A type of bias. Yeah, maybe it's a type of bias, but it's not exactly discrimination. That's right. Racism is like all the forgive me, I'm going to say colorful words here. All the striped ones over here, the non-striped ones over here, the flowers over here. So the flowers don't mix with the striped ones. You can't mix together. That's discrimination. That's segregating. Okay. So a racist will see things in that kind of order. See, they are designers too. They design really well. And they like to put things in order. But it's just the context is different. So now, biased, what is biased? Being partial. Being partial, like no matter what new performers come out in Spotify, on the radio, no matter who, no matter what, I'm an Elvis fan. No matter what movie about Elvis that comes out, even if it's shitty done badly, I'm still a fan of that movie. I'm biased. I'm biased to Elvis. I'm biased to Zack Snyder. I'm a big fan of Zack Snyder, so I like all his movies. I don't care about the critics. I don't care if they make sense. I like Zack Snyder, and I can't wait for Rebel Moon. There you go. Eat this, Marvel fans. Okay. Marvel fans, you're biased badly to Marvel, so okay. Right, so there you go. So one way to start to be a cultural critique is to decide, to identify problem statements there and get started from there. Simulacra and hyperrealism is a different form. It's not bias. It's the thing is seeing things from another plane of existence. This is a bit trippy, but hyperrealism exists. K-pop. Who lives in the world of K-pop? You're living in a hyperrealistic world. A world that is beyond reality. Who lives in the world of J-pop? I mean, I don't think so. You're living in the world of K-pop yet. But if you come to class wearing K-pop thing and looking exactly like one of those K-pop idols, and not just you, a group of you, every day, daily, then you are living in a hyper-realistic world, because everywhere you see is K-pop world. Maybe when you go to the train stations, you're doing some K-pop move, and then, whatever, then tag your card, or I don't know, who knows? People do live in hyper-realistic world. They're cosplaying all the time. You go to Disneyland, that's a hyper-realistic world, because the whole place is made to look like that fantasy world. So simulacra is to do with the aspects, the existential aspects of what, or epistemological aspects of what is. Are you a person? Are you a person? Are you human? How do you know that you are not an avatar? You are sitting here right now. How do you know you're not an avatar? Somebody is playing you. How do you know this is a real table? How do you know this is a real wall? Are we living in a simulation? Are you you? This is my avatar hands. I'm seeing it in first person. How do you know that? So these are some 3 areas that will really kickstart your imagination, and should do some fun reading about this, okay? And write about this in your specific contributions for your group, your little personal journals or something like that. It'd be good as you exchange, you ask questions like this, and it's okay to get lost in it. It's okay to travel, to journey, to be transported. And that's the whole purpose of why, one of the big reasons of why you see so much diversity in game creations. It's quite amazing. Now, games in context is really about the creation of the symbolic, as ideas versus reality, real versus imaginary. It's really about the suspension of disbelief. Where is it positioned? Where do you position yourself in this world? How do you see yourself on a chessboard? So, what is local? What is positional? Where are you in context, in where you are in your specific zone, and where are you positioned in a much bigger plane, let's say in a bigger area? How do you map your position? Where do you go? I'm not saying in the literal sense, but where do you go? The idea of understanding differences, crossing borders, patterns. Now you see this all the time in lots of the game character designs. You see, like this is a good example. You can see how For Honor transcends different cultures. Only thing I wonder why there was no Asian culture here. So you still can critique this. Why the creators don't do that? Why don't they see a Zulu warrior? Why don't they see why don't I see a warrior from Thailand? I mean, ancient warriors from Asia look badass too. I mean, what? They don't have to be these people. The relationship between structure of society with the imaginary and reality. I love Sims. I played Sims since Sims 1. I think before you were born. Oh my God, can't believe it's dawned to me right now. But now there's Sims 4, but I can't wait to see Sims 5. Hopefully Sims 5 you can see in VR. That'll be interesting. But in Sims 4, wow. The things you can do in there. With the mods as well. Oh my God. Oh, yeah, I know. OMG. I didn't realize that until much later. That's in fact one of my students. showed me those mods, and she told me how to install it, and then I just install it. I'm like, oh my God, you could do stuff you can't really, do in real life. So that's the thing. The structured society with the imaginary. How does life imitate art? How does art imitate life? This is the thing about simulations, So, and then the structural existence based on commonality or agreement, which defines or perceive a reality. What all these share in common? The love of currency, in-game currency. You cannot have The Sims. You cannot play The Sims without typing motherload, can you? Yeah. Yeah, motherload. Yeah, copy paste. And then you have all the millions, and you can buy everything you want. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, there's another cheat for that as well. Oh yeah, money equals that. Yeah. True. Yeah, cheater. So you have GTA. Well, the first in-game currency is when playing Monopoly. I remember I was so fascinated. Oh my God, there's money. It's fake money, but it feels good to have a few hotels and a few thousands there. It feels really good, Yeah, because in real life you can't have that. Yeah, see, that's the thing. But in GTA you can't have those millions and drive that fancy cars, and you're unable to do that in real life, and you're unable to just get into somebody's car and drive away and hit somebody, and let it all out there. But in there you can throw some sticky bombs on a fire truck or a money truck. Yeah, those sticky bombs on a money truck. The money truck explodes. You collect the money and go, and you get 2 stars. Police chasing, but you can, as long as you escape, then you're fine. So, but you see the same thing in most open world games, right? What about space and empty positions? Where one of the things about games, what do they share in common as well, is space and empty positions. Have you seen that? You're quite familiar with that that puzzle up there with the numbers, right? The 4x4 puzzle. Now, can you imagine there's number 16 there? What if there's number 16? Can you play the puzzle? You can't, because it is within the structure of the four wall structure, and you put number 16. You can't move it. There's no space to move. Tetris, the challenge about Tetris is you keep creating space. You keep eliminating, and the more space you got ample opportunities to score and move, etc. Minecraft, unlimited space. Rubik's Cube, you can do this to solve it. Now, what do they share in common? Space. Every game, if you notice, gives you space to solve a specific problem. Without looking at empty positions, there's no possibilities. So, what does that mirror? If you see it post-structure, if you look at the structuralist view, we are in a structure, and do we have space to move? Good example. Let's ask some very controversial questions. In my culture, let's say if they observe the marriage law in my culture very closely, I'm not supposed to find any girl without the consent of my parents. My parents will have to look for whoever I'm going to marry, and they have to look at the girl's family, and there are rules to that. They must come from this status, this, and so on and so forth. And they check all that list. Okay, now she's suitable to marry my son. She's qualified. Sound familiar? But now, and that is like me being in that puzzle, with number 16. I can't move. If I give in to it, but you know what I did? I removed that number 16 on my own. And when I remove the number 16 on my own, I'm able to be creative. I'm able to find the person that I love on my own, using my own creativity, because that's the opportunity I had. I created my own opportunity. And nowadays you see a lot of stories like that, a lot of success stories, some failure stories then which led to success. They talk about opportunities that they created on their own. And sometimes, hard as it may seem, you need to destroy in order to create. You need to remove something. Something has to be removed in order. So they say that when you go for fitness, they say you're going to have to lose that weight. Like me, I just started back my fitness already. So I'm going through this really vigorous thing, and the thing that tortured me was the rope thing. And he said, no pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. The trainer was telling me, no pain, no gain. I'm like, oh, no. It's so easy to see Thor doing it, but I could, that's crazy, man. My arms are like going to fall off. But the thing is, you have to remove something. You got to let go of bad habits and change something in your life in order to create that opportunity. Sometimes it's that case. Sometimes you got to burn some bridges. You got to let go relationships, toxic ones. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage. Sometimes when the balloon, you want to go high up, then you're in a hot air balloon, they got to let go some weight. We all go around with backpacks. Sounds like a very premise for a good game, isn't it? So that's what it is. Narrative. When it comes to narrative, you can see also the relationship between the human subject and the structure. Us shaping the structure or the structure shaping us. What are you going to do to shape the structure? Are you rebel enough to do it? If you want to think of a game idea, then let's say if you want to think of a game idea, see the opportunity to really make a statement on this. Let's say let's say if it's literally about the policy of a university, like Monopoly, you turn that into a Monopoly game, but instead of you want to find a reason for you to break those rules. So that's you against the structure. So maybe in the process of playing that game, you come up with a new framework. That sounds really boring, but you could think about ways that you can decide how to shape that structure. Maybe it's really as simple. Is a good example is GTA, Grand Theft Auto. The entire game is about you breaking the rules. Simple as that. It's a game about you breaking. It's giving you an opportunity to break the rules when in real life you just can't. Because the structure shaped you. You are conditioned. You are programmed to think that you go to school, you have to sit on chairs facing the blackboard. What a ridiculous notion. It took me a while to realize that. What am I doing here? Why is the schools like this? Why can't we sit around the teacher? Why can't we have the classroom outside? Why can't we have the classroom look like a living room? Why must it be like this? Look at this X-Space room. Right? Why can't it be a little bigger? Or why can't it be a bit more cozier? Maybe it's not meant for us to be here for a long time. I don't know. Yeah. If you're critical about it, you can shape that structure. You can shape the rules yourself. Gamification. This is one game by Sid Meier, which is really old but a real classic. Brian Reynolds was the game designer, and this was Firaxis Games' one of the earliest outing. Alpha Centauri is about an interfaction. It's something. It's exactly a civilization, but it deals with different factions. All of these different factions have their belief system, their ideology, their religion, and everything like that, and they all come from Earth. Earth is destroyed because of our own doing. So they escape Earth and they move to a planet, to the star system of Alpha Centauri, binary star system. And then there's a habitable planet. They all landed there, but everybody wants a piece of the pie. And that's what the game is about. That's the competitiveness. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. And when everybody landed in certain territory, some territory has the resources that another faction requires. Some factions don't require that resource. Some requires. So what takes place when you want something from another person? Negotiation, exchange. And these open doors for designs, lots of different possibilities to adapt to even for classroom simulations and things like that. And a lot of educators are getting inspiration from games. Now we call this the gamification process. Businesses, corporations are getting inspirations from games, even from management games. Have you played this game? Nobody's. This kind of games are all about micromanagement, management, or managing a city, and yeah, and so on and so forth. Now, for your development, for your entire semester, I know I put there the word tabletop game. You can. It's not just the tabletop game, okay? Just tabletop game is an option, all right? I did not change that word, but basically this is the kind of structure. Now the structure, again, each team will have to decide your own structure, okay, because basically we are meeting each other per groups the whole semester, okay, and you're going to have to note down every time we meet what has happened, what has transpired, what has changed in your prototype. Every time we meet, something happens, some discussion happens. Your responsibility to note everything down, but you also have to categorize for your own team, for your own group, what's happening in this timeline, okay, what you set to achieve on this date, on this week, etc. So you need to have that timeline of your project by next week, okay? So today we just talk about the idea, but next week we should start to have like a rough draft of that timeline. Even if you sketch it out, it's fine, because we're still going to talk about the ideas or finalize the idea next week, right? So at least you know this is a sort of a structure. I'm not saying this is my rule. This is not my rule, okay? This is this is a kind of like a standard thing, all right? Basically for phase one, today, this week, game proposal, sort of like a framework of your game proposal, or by next week, you know, strategy management, whichever. Strategy management is more like your timeline, okay? Now, how you're going to set your progress. Phase two, that is project 2 in terms of assessment weight. So gameplay genre, maybe you might have decided the gameplay genre in the early part in phase 1. That's why, like I said, this is organic, okay? You can actually decide on your own for your team. Assets and design, etc. So, but what you probably will need to decide in phase 2 is what platform are you using for your prototype, okay? Phase 3, your final project is your final play testing and feedback, design improvement, etc. Now, in terms of all 3 phases, you need to have lots of play, a lot of playing. You must play your game. You must have basically a playable game structure in this week itself. Very simple.
Oh, scissors.
Okay, that is rock, scissors, stones, right? How about let's tweak this game a little bit. So every time he loses, I slap him. That's interesting gameplay, isn't it? Yeah. Let's say how many slaps you got. Okay, 2 slaps, 3 slaps, 5 slaps. So, like I said, you have a playable structure this week. You already know how the game is played. Yeah. So if you've got little tiny props and whatever, you can demonstrate how the game is played. You must always play. Every time this is the only rule in my class, play. You must play. You don't play, there's no game, right? Huh?
My mom wouldn't like that.
What?
My mom.
Your mom wouldn't like that? She doesn't she doesn't like to play? Are you sure?
Yeah. It's
Okay. I think your mom doesn't realize that she plays too. Yeah, never mind. I wish I can meet her, then I can prove it to her. Anyway. Okay. So now the whole thing is the RIP process. Not rest in peace. Okay? Research, iteration, design, and prototyping. So your goal for this subject, for this module, is to come up with a game prototype that reflect your game idea and your game philosophy, your game concept. And your concept consists of specific frameworks, structure, okay, and description of the paradigm, or however you want to call it. Okay, that's why you need to do some reading so you can decide how you want to explain your game. If I were to ask you, what is this game called? This game is called Circle Tornado. Oh, okay. What is this whole game about? Oh, you just have to dice it and play, and you move there, and then you go inside the circle, and then you win. Fail. That's not it. That's not the only thing you should explain. You should explain, well, the Circle Tornado is concerning life of a group of people, and this group of people represent the kind of people that exist in today's world, that goes into this, and then if you explain a concept, and then how it cascades down to your simulation, to your game, then the representation is strong. The semiotics is strong. You will score. So that is what I want to hear from you. Okay? So research by playing. You play, you research, yes. Second, iteration design. You keep playing. Every cycle, something change in your design. That's called iteration by design. Okay, our iteration design. Finally, prototype. You already have the fact that you have a playable structure is a prototype. Okay? Remember the idea about the institution thing? It's not the physical, it's the idea of the gameplay. If you are able to play your idea, the game now immediately, then you have a gameplay. It's not like, oh, I must color this, I must do this, I must do that, then we can play. No. So, which means I will expect you to show playable processes. Yeah. So, final prototype. When prototype is a word which is very subjective. All games, even finished games are prototypes. That's why you see them early access. But commercially, sometimes they have to come out of early access because for commercial reasons, for contractual reasons, they don't call it early access. But even so, there will always be updates to the game. So prototypes are never finished. Most things are prototypes. Even cars. There's always problems. There's always improvements. Because if there is a perfect car, then they wouldn't be coming out with newer cars, would it? Now, so RIP, so prototyping via iteration design, the process, design a prototype, play test your prototype, analyze what happened, then it's back to step one. Okay, modifying your game to create a new prototype, etc., whatever. Yeah. Then play testing. Most of the play testing will be done by the designers themselves. Basically, you guys will do the play testing on your own, but again, you will need to do lots of this play test with guest players, right? I'm recording this slide, so I will upload the slide, or I will send you a link. Okay. Yeah, keep it ugly, right? Just doesn't. I'm not saying do a shit job. I'm saying it does not have to be perfectly beautiful now. Okay, make it rough. Keep it rough. Doesn't matter. So there are different versions. I don't know. I'm just showing you this. I did not change the slide because Tabletop Simulator is what we always used. It's easier to play this online, but you don't have to. There are other games you can play online. There are games that you can create level creators, or you basically create another game within a game. That particular game can be a demo of your idea. I don't know whether I'm making sense, but you decide and you come back to me on that, right? So yeah, there are many different versions of. If some of you know how to code, there will be some things that you might see on Epic Games like Creda. Creda is pretty cool, but you need to know a bit of Unreal Engine in order to do this. They have a game creation tool there. So yeah. Now for exercise 2, this is your exercise 2, cultural influences in games. Identify games with cultural influences. What culture? How does it connect to players? So that next week we're going to talk a little bit more about games in culture. Something a bit more, we go microscopic a little bit on that. So identify games with cultural influences. Okay, I don't need to explain. I think you understand this sentence and statement. So this is exercise 2. Yeah. Now exercise 2, like I said, from exercise 2 onwards, you can post your exercise 2 in the outcome of all exercises are posted in your ePortfolio. Okay. Now these are group exercises from exercise 2 onwards. Okay. All exercises are group. Okay. They don't have to be individual. Yeah. So yeah, now the individual contribution for yours is your journaling. Okay, you have your own journal, your thought process concerning during the progression of your team, your project. Okay, so you've seen the sample ePortfolio, kind of like that. All right. So now this can be a team one, but the catch is this: exercise 2, 3, 4, 5. I think there are 5 exercises. Yeah, needs to be done via video. Okay, so video. There are YouTube links. So it's highly recommended that you know how you're going to do that as a team, but video. And the length of that video, 3 minutes, maximum 5 minutes. Okay, so I leave that to you. Right? So you can do that at any point between now until the end of semester, as long as you fulfill all exercises. And if you do finish the exercise, when we see each other for tutorial, feel free to show it to me, because if you show me your exercises at any one point, you get a score. Okay. All right. Any questions? Pretty clear, yeah? Again, I'm late for the lecture attendance. So I'll take the attendance from tutorial onwards. Let's take a 3-minute break. And right after a 3-minute break, we're going to pick Wait, what time is it? 9, 9, 10. We'll try to do the game, personal game history. I'm not sure if I can cover all 37 of you for personal game history. What do you think? It's very difficult, yeah? So we'll probably pick from each group, maybe 1 or 2. We'll see how it goes, or we just get you to volunteer to present for your personal game history, all right? And the others, but it'd be good for you to post your personal game history in your e-portfolio, all right? Yeah. So when you present your personal game history, this is what you're going to do. You know what I'm holding with me right here? This is my mic. It's a lapel mic. Now for this lapel mic, I'm going to, it's a 5-meter one, pretty long. So you could kind of like sit here and present it on screen. You're going to have to present, you're going to have to send me your Google Slide link to Discord. So I will run it here and then you can present because I'm recording here. I want to capture your voice in here. Got it? Okay. So let's take about 5-minute break. Okay.